Imagine waking up tomorrow and not knowing who you are, not knowing where you live, not knowing your parents' faces, not knowing what year it is. Now imagine that happening every single day for 55 years. This is not a movie. This is not a thought experiment. This is the real life of Henry Molaison, a man who, after a single surgery, lost the ability to form any new memory for the rest of his life. And what scientists discovered by studying him changed everything we thought we knew about the human brain. Henry Molaison was born in 1926 in Hartford, Connecticut. By all accounts, he was a normal kid until age 7 when he was hit by a bicycle and suffered a head injury. Shortly after, he started having seizures. At first, they were manageable, but by his 20s, the seizures had become so severe, sometimes dozens a day, that Henry could barely function. He couldn't hold a job, he couldn't live a normal life. Desperate, his family turned to a neurosurgeon named William Beecher Scoville. Scoville had a bold idea. He believed the seizures were originating from a specific part of the brain, a small seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. His solution? Remove it. In 1953, at just 27 years old, Henry went under the knife. The surgery worked. The seizures stopped. But something had gone catastrophically wrong. Henry woke up from surgery and immediately forgot he'd had it. He could remember everything from before 1953, his childhood, his parents, his favorite songs, all of it. Crystal clear. But the moment anything new happened, a conversation, a meal, a person's face, it was gone within minutes, sometimes seconds. His mother would walk into the room. He'd greet her warmly. She'd leave. She'd come back 5 minutes later. He'd greet her again, like it was the first time. Every single day, Henry would wake up and think it was 1953. Researchers would introduce themselves to him, have full conversations with him, build what felt like a relationship. And the next day, he had no idea who they were. One psychologist, Brenda Milner, spent decades working with Henry. Decades. And every single time she walked in the room, she had to introduce herself as if they'd never met. Think about that. Decades of relationship, zero recognition. The world moved on around Henry. He grew older. He could see it in the mirror, and it confused him every time. He'd look at his reflection and genuinely not understand why the man looking back was so old. He lived in an eternal present, frozen in 1953, for 55 years. Here's what makes Henry's story more than just tragic. It's one of the most important medical cases in history. Because of Henry, scientists discovered something fundamental. Memory is not one thing, it's multiple systems. Henry could still learn physical skills. Researchers taught him to trace a shape while looking at it in a mirror, a notoriously difficult task. And every single day, he'd improve, even though he had no memory or practicing. He was learning without knowing he was learning. This proved that procedural memory, the kind that controls how your body moves, is stored somewhere completely different from the hippocampus, completely different from conscious memory. Before Henry, scientists thought memory was a single, unified thing. After Henry, they understood it was a collection of systems, each stored in a different part of the brain. Every memory model, every Alzheimer's treatment, every study into amnesia, it all traces back in some way to Henry Molaison. He became the most studied individual in the history of neuroscience, and he never even knew it. His name wasn't even revealed to the public until after he died, to protect his privacy. For decades, the world knew him only as HM, the patient who lost his memory so that science could find ours. Henry Molaison died in 2008 at the age of 82. In his final years, he was living in a care home. He was peaceful, he wasn't in pain. But every morning, every single morning, he woke up as a 27-year-old man in 1953, confused by his own reflection, surrounded by strangers he'd met 1,000 times. His brain was donated to science. It was sliced into 2,401 sections and digitally preserved so researchers could keep studying him long after his death. Henry never published anything. He never gave a TED talk. He never even knew his own name was famous. But the knowledge that came from his tragedy, it lives in every neuroscience textbook, in every brain scan, in every breakthrough in memory research. He gave everything to science without ever knowing he gave anything at all. If that doesn't sit with you, I don't know what will. If you want more stories like this, the ones that change how you see the world, subscribe because we're just getting started.